Damage Plan MMA podcast. Now we're rolling. I screwed that up. How did I screw that up?
You literally nailed that every time. And what?
And this time I'm just
episode what? Like 122, 123. You screwed it up.
I was practicing my punches.
You're getting too cocky. You're getting too cocky with your striking.
No, trust me. I'm not getting cocky with my striking. Striking is horrible. You know what I need to do? I need to stretch. So if you're listening to this podcast, you need to stretch.
That's good.
Learning something new. It's fun though.
Oh, we always have fun.
So I named this podcast the MMA Rant podcast because you want to go on a little rant again today.
I have a couple things. Like we've all had this, like, the fallout from UFC 257. It's been a whole week. We get to dwell on it. I have a couple takes, some opinions that I've heard that I've liked, not liked, but I'm going to start. First, Dustin Poirier, and I'm doubling down on this. He's the baddest man on the planet at 155 that isn't named Khabib. And the most gangster move ever is when they offered him, when they're talking about fights and what's next for him. And he's like, you know what, man? Let Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira fight for the 155 belt. Neither of them deserve to fight me right now. So let them fight for the belt, and then I'll go take the belt off of whoever the winner of that is.
I don't think he said Oliveira doesn't deserve to fight him. He said Oliveira's paid his dues.
Okay, but
Chandler's the one that he's saying, if they want Chandler to fight for the title, let them fight and I'll sit back.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. That is what he said. But still, and then some people were like, oh, he's ducking him. Dude, look at who he's beat. Dustin Poirier is not ducking anybody. Dustin Poirier would fight Khabib at UFC 258 if they offered it to him. He's not ducking anybody. All that screams to me is this is a man who knows he's on top.
Yeah.
He's supremely confident in himself.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need a belt for show, to fight somebody to prove to himself that he's the best.
Yeah.
Dude, everybody knows who Dustin Poirier is and what he's about now. Everybody knows, and there's no questioning it. So he's like, you know what? Yeah, if that's what you want, let them go fight for the belt. I'll take it off the winner. If Michael Chandler could beat Oliveira, then we can throw down for the belt, and it's his belt, and I'll take it off his waist.
I think you're seeing these guys come together because you're seeing Oliveira come with it too and say he doesn't want to fight Chandler. I like that these guys are kind of coming together and saying, you know what? Chandler hasn't paid his dues in the UFC.
Well, let's be honest.
Paid his dues.
Okay. Can I play devil? I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, this is what we do, man.
Michael Chandler, you want to talk about not paying his dues?
Oh, he's paid his dues as far as in the sport of MMA. He's paid his dues in the sport.
But
not in the UFC.
I don't care.
Not in the UFC.
I don't care.
Poirier and Oliveira have been at the bottom.
He became legitimately a top contender in the UFC with his body of work that he's built over his career. And by coming into the UFC and starching Dan Hooker in the first round, that is paying your dues. Why does he have to pay his dues in the UFC?
He needs at least one more. He needs at least one more fight. And okay, I'm not taking anything away from what he did to Dan Hooker because he starts Dan Hooker, and Dustin
Poirier didn't even do that.
Yeah, I love that. Poirier couldn't do it. Like, Hooker's a savage. Like, we all know that. In fact, but let's be real here, right? He was coming off a loss to Poirier. Who else has he beat?
Okay, then I'm going to make the exact same argument against Du Bronx.
Who? What? I mean, Du Bronx, he just freaking
beat
Tony Ferguson.
Who's Tony Ferguson? Time out. Beat Tony Ferguson. Beat Tony Ferguson, who was just coming off of a brutal loss where he got stopped and knocked out by another top contender.
Yep.
And then at the beginning of the pandemic, he lost to Kevin Lee, who's only won 2 out of his last 6. And then the other 6 guys on that 8-fight winning streak, none of them have had a number next to him.
Whose win over Ferguson was more impressive? Whose win over Ferguson was more impressive? You think Gaethje's was more impressive than Du Bronx?
Dude, he
Mm,
won 5 rounds.
I don't know.
Won 5 rounds.
I'll give you that. I will give you the 5 rounds. But Oliveira dominating at his own game.
2.
And
I'm going to say
let's rewind back to our podcast when we did before the Ferguson and Gaethje fight. Ferguson gets touched in his fight, so that wasn't no surprise. What was a surprise is Do Bronx picking him up and slamming him on his head and controlling him for 3 rounds. Him getting beat. I mean, okay, we didn't think he was going to be like that.
The reason why the Gaethje one is more impressive is nobody done that to him, and like nobody had ever done that. Gaethje was the first.
But there's been people that were pieced him up, that he'd been dropped, and I mean, I don't have the stats right in front of me, but almost every fight he was dropped.
Not like that though.
Tagged.
Not like that though.
I'll give you the 5 round because it was over 5 rounds. I'll give you that. But
it was a championship fight, 5 rounds, main event. Gaethje, I'm sorry that Gaethje gets the nod there, and he did it for 5 rounds. And not only did he do it for 5 rounds, that performance. I mean, Conor McGregor talked about painting a masterpiece. Justin Gaethje painted a masterpiece that night.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about beating Tony Ferguson in his own game? He beat him in a slugfest. Tony is the one that usually is walking guys down. Hey, babe. Tony's usually the one that's walking guys down and breaking them. Gaethje beat him in his own game. And but Oliveira, he and can we both agree that Tony Ferguson should not have been fighting that soon after that type of a beating?
I don't know if I think it was the right time. I didn't like
that.
What the right time is.
His face didn't look normal after that Gaethje fight.
Because he's freaking probably training with Diego Sanchez.
No, but I mean, his face was so swollen by the end of that Gaethje fight, he didn't even look like the same person. Like Oliveira did not like beat up Tony Ferguson and like change his face.
I just like that he controlled him on the ground, where everybody's like, oh, Ferguson's going to get him on the ground. He's going to slap him, submission on him.
Unpopular opinion, Ben Sanders and Tony Ferguson, I believe, are the only 2 high-level 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu black belts. Zach.
No, it doesn't at all.
Not called for, Zach. Hey, don't take Jason's side on this, Zach. But Ben Sanders and Tony Ferguson are like only two of like Eddie Bravo's high level 10th Planet black belts that have been successful in MMA. I'm not trying to discredit Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu, because I think there's a time when it was as elite gets it, the lightweight division.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But I mean, that basic Brazilian jiu-jitsu background, be good at the basics, fundamentals, things like that. 10th Planet's a lot of kind of fancy stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's doing Darces from weird angles and stuff, and it's sick and it's super slick. And don't get me wrong, he'd mop me, but there's something to be said of just being super in jiu-jitsu. There's just something to be said about somebody who's just super sound in all the fundamentals. I mean, that's sports across the board. And that is what Do Bronx is his jiu-jitsu is so good because he does all the basics perfect.
Yeah, he did. All right, let's go back to our who should fight who. So I kind of like that Oliveira said the same thing. He's like, I don't want that fight. I don't want to fight him.
But
why not?
But why not? Okay, and I understand it's kind of short notice, right? Because they offered it for UFC 258.
Oh, did they? So
they offered Michael Chandler and Oliveira, and Oliveira, it's been reported today that Oliveira said, no, it's not, because it wasn't for the belt. And he said, no, I'm going to wait for my title fight. You know what, dude? I hate to break it to you, but you do not hold the cards here. You are not marketable. You don't speak English.
That's true.
You don't hold the cards here.
I'm with you on that one.
You are him turning down that fight right now to beat Michael Chandler, who I'd make a pretty strong argument that he beats Michael Chandler.
If Chandler wasn't in the UFC now, does Oliveira get the title shot? Who gets the title shot if Chandler's not here? Let's say Chandler's not here, out of the picture. Hooker loses to RDA or something. Who would get the title shot then?
Gaethje and Poirier. Or they'd be talking about a Gaethje Oliveira fight.
I mean,
this is what I'm saying.
If you want to make a title fight,
if you're Oliveira, you are not in a position right here to be like, fine, I'll just wait for my title fight. You are going to get passed by, my friend.
He is. He unfortunately, that's
him turning down that. If Michael Chandler said yes to that fight and he's the reason why it's not happening, and then Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler happens, Justin Gaethje, the winner of that fight is going to fight Tony Ferguson for the title fight, and he is going to get passed by again.
Yeah.
He's going to go through the same ringer that Tony Ferguson went through, where he's going to get on this long win streak. He's going to miss his opportunities. Remember Ferguson trying to get that fight with Conor McGregor forever, and it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, I love Tony Ferguson. He wasn't that marketable. He's crazy.
Still not.
He's crazy. He was off beating his wife. People don't forget that stuff. Like the domestic violence stuff. Like I haven't forgotten it anyways. He's gonna get passed by, and then at some point he loses.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh well, see, you're on your down slope now. Bye. It's gonna happen. That is the game. I don't know who his management is, but that is a dangerous game to play with Dana White, because he has shown time and time again that if you do not take fights, bye. I don't care. Look what they did to Leon Edwards.
Well, look what they did.
They kicked him out of the rankings. I
can tell you from firsthand, when Justin was renting my basement, he told me when he blew out his knee, and he said he'd be ready in I can't remember the time frame, so I'm just going to ramble off some dates, but he's basically said, I'll be ready in April.
Yeah.
They hit him up in February and said, okay, we got to fight for you. He said, no, I'm not ready yet. I just had surgery. Hit him up again in March. I'm not ready yet. I said I'd be ready in April. April comes around, no call. May comes around, no call. June, July. He's like, I thought I was supposed to get a fight. And they're like, we gave you 2 opportunities and you turned them down. It's like,
well, it's because their contract, read their contract is they will be offered 3 fights a year.
Yeah. Yep.
That is their contract.
Yep.
They will be, and if they're not that interested in you, by the way, they will offer you fights, 3 fights, short notice, and when you're injured, when they know you can't take the fights, because then they're upholding that's the game. You have to know this game. If me, an amateur fighter that's a Joe Blow, whatever, and podcaster understands that, how do these fighters not understand this? If you're Charles Oliveira, you're like, I want to fight for a title. I understand that. But beating Tony Ferguson, coming off the loss that he did, does not just put you in line for an automatic title fight.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Not in that division.
I think with the way the division shaped up, it does. But but from a marketing standpoint, Chandler is up there as probably the most marketable person on that 155 roster outside of Khabib right now.
Outside of Gaethje and Khabib.
I mean, they could be neck and neck.
But Gaethje has the reputation with that stigma of the most fight. I mean, when Oliveira just turned that fight down, Michael Chandler said that he wants to fight the most violent man in the UFC, Justin Gaethje. Then and that's what he just said. But that's why Michael Chandler's going to get the title fight, and not Charles Oliveira, because Michael Chandler's like, cool. Who do I got to beat? Who do I got to beat to get it? Oh, I got to beat this guy? Cool. Give me that guy then. I got to beat this guy? Okay, cool. Good. He's not going to be like, he's not going, look at my body of work, and then I just beat Dan Hooker, and then he expects to just sit back and wait for the title call to come. No. It doesn't work that way. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's not right.
Yeah,
that's not how it works, and we know that.
Did you see now Pitbull's saying they should do a little cross promotion because he's with Chandler?
Pitbull, ready for this?
Because he knocked out Chandler, and he's like, hey, let him get the belt in there, and then let's do a cross promotion and see who's better.
Well, he already knows he's better. Pitbull beats him again.
What if Pitbull
ready for this? You ready for this?
Yeah.
Pitbull beats everybody. I feel very confident that Pitbull beats everybody not named Khabib and Dustin Poirier.
I'm going to agree with that.
And I think him and Dustin Poirier is a pretty dang close fight.
He's a killer, man.
He's a murderer.
I love, those guys. There's some talent in the Bellator that
they're just not deep.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what's his name? Light heavyweight or 185? Douglas Lima.
Douglas, dude, he's welterweight. He
just
moved up. He just moved up to 185 and tried to fight Gegard Mousasi at 185. Who he did a great job.
It was a close fight.
It was like 3-2, right? 5 rounds.
Yeah.
It was like 3-2, 48-47. But I mean, I'd make a strong argument that I think Douglas Lima could come in right now and hang with anybody at 170 in the UFC.
Anybody, and
he's
including
a monster.
He's
big,
he's strong.
He's a monster at 170. Douglas Lima is a monster. You know, those light heavyweights, Bellator's got a great light heavyweight division now. They got some heavyweights. Like they have Cyborg, one of the pound for pound top 3 best women fighters in the world. I mean, they have talent. They just don't have depth. But so here's where I'm at with it. You're Dustin Poirier. You're like, cool, dude, just do it. This is what's going to happen now. If Charles Oliveira, if he's making a hardline stance on this, this is what is going to happen. He is going to be sidelined. I'm telling everybody right now. Dana is going to sideline him.
You're probably right.
He's going to get if this is making a hardline stance that my next fight is going to be for a belt. Cool. You're going to get sidelined over here. Now Gaethje and Michael Chandler are going to fight. The winner of that is going to fight Dustin Poirier for the undisputed 155 belt. And Khabib goes, peace. I'm still the GOAT. The only thing that gets Khabib out of bed now at this point is if Michael Chandler starches Justin Gaethje and then starches Dustin Poirier. Then that might get Khabib out of bed.
Which
maybe. And I think that's like 10, 15% chance. Think that's fair? 10, 15% chance maybe?
Do you think Jake Paul, Conor McGregor might fight in 2021? I think they already called that one off, JB.
Question from John Valentine. Do you think Jake Paul and Conor McGregor might fight in 2021? Absolutely not.
Yeah, they're not going to fight, JV. I think they already took that one off the table.
Well, they took away Floyd Mayweather, Jake Paul off the table, not Conor McGregor.
Oh, Conor McGregor. Sorry. I'm thinking of, no, I don't think it's going to happen.
Conor's not going to happen. Now, so you ready for my other take? I think Dana White royally screwed up with Conor McGregor.
Why?
Remember last year when Conor was asking for fights to be active? And Dana was like, nope, just wait for Khabib. Nope, just wait for Khabib. Nope, wait for Khabib. And Conor's like, screw this, man. Screw this. And he goes and he releases the text messages, which is kind of like an unspoken like bro code thing. Like you don't screenshot and send out, right? Like not cool, right? But he was going, look, no, I was trying to get fights. And everybody was making fun of him for calling out Diego Sanchez or saying agreeing to fight with Diego because everybody's like, come on, man. Like freaking Conor McGregor. You're going to be fighting Diego Sanchez. That was Conor understanding in my eyes. And you can call Conor a lot of things. He's very analytical and I think he understands the game pretty well.
Very well.
I think he understood that he needed to be active to go to the top. Now he has a lot of self-confidence and self-belief, and I think he thought he could go in there and beat Dustin Poirier. But if they would have let Conor fight Diego Sanchez and maybe let him fight somebody else and to be active, things might have looked very different in that Dustin Poirier fight.
Could have. Very well could have.
Because he said it himself, and I think we both agree. They run it back after Conor's had another 3 or 4 fights and he's back over the next 12 to 15 months and he's back in the groove of things, it's a different fight. If Conor is hungry and stuff. But that looked to me like a Conor that was, I mean, what's changed since Conor's left? Calf kicks. That calf kick has been, that's a huge development that's becoming almost like a staple weapon amongst a lot of fighters. And Conor wasn't prepared for it. And he wasn't prepared for it in basically a number 1 contender main event on a pay-per-view fight. It's Dana was so fixated on the Khabib Conor rematch that he lost sight of what actually, dude, they should have been milking it. Conor versus Diego Sanchez still would have done 2 million pay-per-view buys.
Oh, it's still, it doesn't matter who he fights.
And then you know what the time to make it was? Nate Diaz Conor 3 would, Like, let him fight Cowboy. Let him fight Sanchez. Let him fight Nate Diaz 3. And let him have his season of 3 fights last year. And then he gets going to this Dustin Poirier fight. Because I think he mops Diego Sanchez, obviously. And then Nate Diaz, I think he fights him again, too. I don't think Nate Diaz is the same anymore. Jorge Masvidal beat the brakes off that boy.
He beat the brakes off him.
Beat him, right?
Yes.
You get and then you get that momentum, and then Conor McGregor coming off a Nate Diaz 3 win against a Dustin Poirier, and then if he beats Dustin, then you got Khabib. Khabib's in there for night.
Yeah.
Khabib's in there for that fight. And we are armchair quarterback this, right? We are hindsight 2020. He lost. I mean, if he beats Khabib, we're not saying any of this.
Yeah.
Or beats Poirier, but he didn't beat Poirier. He should have let Conor fight, and he should have let him fight whoever he wanted to fight. And, oh, by the way, it's not like they don't make boatloads of cash every time he fights.
He's the cash cow, man. If he comes back with that same fire and fights again, if he can get 2 more fights in this year, he says he wants to fight again. He says he wants to get in there soon. He could shake some things up in there. I don't think he's done. I don't think he's done it all.
Now. Let Diego go out on that payday.
Hey, I'd be okay with it.
Would you be mad at that?
Actually, no, I wouldn't, because if you put him in there with, you know who I'd be okay with him to fight? Dan Hooker. Give him Dan Hooker.
It's a great fight for him.
Give him Dan Hooker. Because, give him Dan Hooker this summer or late spring.
Late spring. Let's keep him active.
Yeah, keep him active.
He's already fine from those calf kicks. He's fine.
I don't know about that.
He's fine.
His leg's probably still swollen from that.
He's fine.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, those are my 2 things. Charles Oliveira, if this is your stance, you're going to get passed by, and it's now you're eliminating yourself essentially, because they're not going to just bump you up there. Yep. I'm, by the way, not arguing whether it's right or not arguing whether he's deserving or not, because it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, it's going to become a 3-way dance between Gaethje, Chandler, and Poirier. And skill for skill, Oliveira belongs to have that be a 4-way, but he's eliminating himself. And then 2, I think in hindsight, Dana White royally screwed up the Conor McGregor comeback.
Shy likes Mack and Felder. Actually, Shy, I like that too. I actually like him against Felder too.
I think if Connor's right, I think he hits Felder pretty bad. And I love Paul Felder.
I like either him or Hooker. I think if you're going to make that fight for him, let's do it. But
if you're Connor though, and here's the other thing, and this is very real. Is Connor so big that he could lose his next fight and still be Connor?
Yep.
So yeah, give him tough fights still too, or give him Diego Sanchez. Throw Diego Sanchez about. Hey, my man is the Ultimate Fighter Season 1 winner, and he's still fighting in 2021. Throw my man the payday. Give my man the payday.
Hey, you know what?
His last fight he threw, he's got the dad bod of dad bods in the UFC right now. He threw the worst flying knee attempt in the history of the UFC.
What was the meme going around where they had
Jorge Masvidal
and Diego?
Not good. Not good, Diego.
You versus the guy she told you not to worry about type of thing.
Yeah. And then
I love that.
And then so you got Diego. And then, he's got his meditation coach or whatever in his corner, and that's it. He's got an OnlyFans account that apparently is doing really well for him. Good for you,
which is smart.
I don't know.
You called on that 6 months ago and said we should do that for us. And
yes, I did.
Actually, very good marketing tool that these guys are using. It's not just for
they need to get away from. They need to get away from OnlyFans because of the stigma that OnlyFans has. It's like Snapchat, because everybody forever that was the dick pic app, right?
Yeah.
They need to get away from that because of the stigma around OnlyFans. But somebody needs to develop. Hey, if you have any app developers out here, I'm going to give you a free $1 million idea. Come up with a brand, do the same thing that OnlyFans does, except make it a platform for athletes and let them
trainers, like a fitness, MMA fitness
100%. Dude,
$1 million idea.
You're welcome.
Million freaking
America.
dollar idea. I like
You're
it.
welcome. You're welcome, America. But him doing that, it's like, dude, just throw him a bone on the way out. Let Connor have. It would probably look a lot like the Cowboy fight. I think he'd knock him out inside a couple of minutes, and he's gonna get paid, and Connor's gonna be nice and respectful about it, and we're back into Conor McGregor season, and he's on the win streak, and he could fight Nate Diaz for the third time, or then he could fight a Dan Hooker or Paul Felder. If Conor's back to being active and willing to fight anybody and not just big money fights, it's great.
My wife's being a pervert.
Cherie, this is an MMA podcast, Cherie.
Oh man,
come on.
Hey, so I have something before we go, because I know this was going to be just a short little rant one. Here's my rant.
It's still
so
short.
I listened to an interview the other day with Kamaru Usman. Why is he not marketable? What is it about Usman?
He's so unlikable.
Like, he's literally one of the pound for pound best fighters in mixed martial arts. You can't deny that.
Where is he on your list?
As far as ranking, like up there,
pound for pound. I think I have him at 4 on my list. I'm putting him behind Stipe. I'm putting him behind John Jones, and I'm putting him behind Izzy.
You're putting him behind Izzy?
And that's assuming Kamara or Khabib is retired.
If Khabib is retired, I'm putting him behind Jones. I'm putting him behind Izzy. I'm putting him behind Stipe. So 1, 2, 3. So he's 4.
That's where I got him.
Number 4. Mm-hmm. But nobody wants to see him fight. I looked at a Twitter feed of all the comments, and everybody's like, he's boring. And you listen to his interviews, super smart guy. I'm not taking anything away from him. Speaks very well.
He's very intelligent.
Very intelligent. He's straight to the point. He's kind of a no BS type of guy. He's like, hey, I just want to get in there and fight. Like, but it's not selling. Like, it's like, oh, I just want to. I don't know what it is, man.
You know who he is?
Who is he?
GSP.
He is exactly like, he even fights like GSP. Like, I can remember back in the day watching GSP fight. They dominate. They don't finish, but they dominate. Like, and that was how GSP was. And GSP, as for as talented as he was, he never really, he wasn't like a Khabib, like a ground and pound smash you, like talk shit, punch, elbow.
He's dominant. GSP did not get the love that he gets now until after he was gone.
Do you think that's would be for Usman too? Do you think he might get that?
Probably. Because you go look back at his body of work and the way he beat up T. Woodley in a title fight, and the way that he ran through, and his dude. People forget his fight with Colby Covington. That's an all-time title fight.
That was a great fight. And it was all stand up, because I think they both felt like their wrestling kind of canceled each other out. So they stood for 5 rounds. They stood and banged. And you could tell
robots.
And you could tell early on, Usman, he carried more power. Colby was more of a pop shot and a volume. And Kamara, when he hit him, he made him pay.
Sounded different.
I mean, I think Burns has a chance. I don't think he's going to win. I think Usman wins that fight too. And then what does Usman do?
You're just sour grapes because Burns didn't come on the podcast.
I am pissed at him so I hope he freaking loses.
We'll talk about that when it's closer.
Yeah, but I mean, let's just hypothetically speaking, if he beats Burns, then what? Where does he go from there?
Yeah, he's going to get Jorge Masvidal in a full camp.
Do you think that would be?
Oh yeah, dude. Jorge Masvidal is the second biggest draw in the UFC next to Conor McGregor.
I agree.
So
that's
what he wants.
Did he fight Thompson already?
No.
Did Thompson's making a case?
Hey, who did I say is going to be at the top of that division by the end of this year?
Wonder Boy.
I got Wonder Boy. I got Wonder Boy beating Usman. I think his style is perfect. He's the one guy that has the style to keep the wrestler away. And if Usman thinks that he's going to stand on his feet and strike with him, he is going to get roundhouse kicked in the face by Stephen Thompson.
that's the one fighter on the. I mean, because you go down the UFC roster, all the champions. Shevchenko, marketable. Weili Zhang, she doesn't even speak English. Everybody loves her. She's working on it. Amanda Nunes, marketable. Stipe, marketable. Jan Blachowicz, we don't really know.
Love that dude.
They still love him.
I don't like Amanda Nunes at all, but I love Jan Blachowicz.
But she's Israel Adesanya, marketable. Kamaru Usman, he's literally the only out of all the champions. Volkanovski, Peter Yan's even making himself marketable on Twitter.
He can thank Aljo. He can thank Aljo for that.
Figueiredo, if he learns a little bit of English, he's marketable. Like that guy. Have you seen some of the crap he wears? His outfits, like
and he's always doing like the throat slash to face offs. Yeah,
and it's like Usman is like. I mean, if you like a fighter's fighter that's just going to get in there and grind out the win, Usman's your guy. But as far as marketability wise, he's last. He's dead last on the list.
Do you remember? I'll never forget when he won a fight. He was a main event. He won a super boring fight when he was still coming up. And he got on the mic after and said, that was only me at 30% and and all this stuff. And Dana got on the mic after on the press conference. And he goes, well, he should probably start trying to fight at 100% because that 30% was pretty boring and nobody's ever going to want to watch him fight. Still has the same problem. He's got the same problem Tyrone Woodley has. He's the champion, and Dana wants him to lose so bad, but nobody can beat him.
Woodley's kind of that guy too. But Woodley was violent though when he was on his little streak. Like Woodley finished people. But
I'm going to argue with this with Usman, dude. He beats people up. Like take off
people.
Colby Covington.
Yeah, but I mean, they stood and outside of Colby Covington. Who does he finish? I don't know. Let's look real quick before we get off.
Real quick. Zach Trujillo says, low key, I feel like when Conor was smack talking, he did a lot better. Almost like now he had no choice but to prove himself because of the smack talking. We talked about this a little bit on last week's podcast, Zach. Agreed. And Conor is not as good of a fighter without that mental edge with the smack talking. It's different. And if Conor can come to the rise and get to the top of that division again without the smack talking, I'll be impressed because I'm not positive he can do
it. Look at Kamaru Usman.
Oh, I've
decision.
Looked at the apology.
Decision. He punches with Covington. Decision. Punches. Decision. Arm triangle. He's got an arm triangle on the Ultimate Fighter back in 2015. No split decisions.
No, because
but it's crazy if you go back before he got into the UFC, he's finishing everybody. He finishes everybody before the UFC. RFA, finish, CFA, legacy, finish. And then when he gets in the UFC, I don't know what changed. I feel like if he marketed himself more, he could be that guy, man.
Maybe.
Yeah, whatever. That's just my rant for the day. All right, what do we got this weekend? We'll break down Overeem and Volkov.
Oh my gosh, what a good fight! Oh, and Sandhagen and Frankie Edgar co-main.
I love that too.
Oh, that fight. I mean,
Cody Stamann, Andre Ewell.
Nope, Ewell's out.
Oh, it's somebody else now, right? Did they switch it? They found him somebody else, right?
They're looking.
Diego Ferreira and Benil Dariush.
That's a crazy good fight. Oh,
Michael Johnson, Clay Guida.
Oh, Michael Johnson. Oh my gosh.
Justin James is on this card against Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith's a replacement.
Oh my gosh. What a good card.
Yusuf Zalal's on this card against Wu Chao.
Dude, Diego Ferreira, Benil Dariush is a sneaky, great fight. Oh,
it's a great fight.
Gosh.
It's a good card, man. I was watching some highlights of old Overeem.
Why is Clay Guida still in the UFC?
Same reason Diego Sanchez is.
Oh my gosh.
Don't him and Chad Mendez have like a fishing company or something? Probably. They do. I know they do. They have some kind of like charter fishing thing.
Wow.
Yeah. If you get a chance, go and watch some of Overeem's early fights.
Dude, I think Overeem.
I mean,
remember, I picked Alistair Overeem to be the heavyweight champ by the end of this year.
I mean, this guy's 40 years old and he's been fighting since
forever.
I'm trying to get to the thing. He's been fighting since 1999.
Cool.
Like,
I was 10 years old.
that is insane.
Yeah. I was 10 years old.
And still at a high level. Like,
he's
going to lose this weekend, but I don't know.
Ooh, do you really?
I don't know. I'm not going to make the pick right now because I
think, dude,
I like the run he's on, because he really should be on a 1, 2, 3, 4. He really should be on a five fight win streak.
Mm-hmm.
In Rosenstrike, all right, got lucky with the 4 seconds left.
Hey,
I kind of like to see him get a belt.
Hey, what did you think about oh, I would love that. That'd be so sick. That'd be so sick.
Yeah.
What do you think about Cody Garbrandt's comments on TJ Dillashaw? That he was always using EPO, and the reason why he got caught. 100%. The reason why he got caught is because he didn't know how his body would react dropping down to 125.
100%. I agree.
TJ, anybody that follows TJ Dillashaw knows how calculated he is with all of his nutrition and everything. He 100% had it all dialed in, but going to 125, his body reacted a little different. Couldn't cover up the EPO.
I like that Cody wasn't making an excuse that he lost, because he knew he was on it and he still took the fight. He's like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Well,
Cody dropped him in the first fight. Remember?
Didn't he drop him in both?
I think it's just the first one, but that first one, I mean, if that first round is 8 seconds longer, Cody Garbrandt he might still be your bantamweight champ.
No, I like it. I agree 100% with him. You don't just fall into stuff like that. Like, you
don't go, hey, I'm a totally clean fighter, and then the first time you're like, oh, give me some of that EPO.
It'd be like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, I'm training for the Mr. Olympia. I guess I'll start using steroids right now. It's like
just right now.
Just right now, 12 weeks before Mr. Olympia. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way.
Like, I don't know. It's hard because, like, I know there's cheating in that sport, and
we talked. You came up with a great idea. Let him in the contract. Hey, this is what I'm taking. What are you taking? Put it on there. Sign the contract.
You want to eliminate cheating? Cheating? That's how you do it. You get 2 guys and be like, TJ goes, I want to be on EPO and I want to be this, and then his opponent goes, and then Jose Aldo goes, you know what? My testosterone's low. I want to have testosterone levels above 15. I want my testosterone levels to be allowed to be up to 1,500 that night. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and I want weed, and I want weed in my system. Okay.
You know what? It's gonna happen. It's happened since the beginning of sports.
Let them be transparent about it.
And
then if somebody's taking something that somebody's like, no, dude, I'm not fighting a guy that's on HGH or whatever.
Yeah.
Deer antler spray. I don't know, whatever. If he's like, but if he's like, no, he's on that. And he's like, dude, I'm not fighting somebody that's on that. Then okay, then you don't fight somebody that's on that. Or he decides, okay, I'll go off of it. Okay. Then you say, okay, you're going to be tested for it then. Okay. But just let it be transparent. Dude, I'll fight somebody that's all steroided up. I don't care if they're on steroids. It's not going to help their cardio. But I might go, but if they're on EPO, I might be like, Then I say, okay, where do I get my EPO?
I mean, I know this is a touchy subject, and there's a lot.
I'm not talking me personally. I'm just saying in general.
I just think, how is it cheating when everybody's doing it? Like,
but that's the thing. I don't think everybody's doing EPO.
I mean, I think everybody's looking for an edge, and I don't know the fight game as well and what they would be taking to give them the edge. But I do know other sports like baseball, obviously with cycling with Lance Armstrong. Like, how can you say how can you call Lance Armstrong a cheater when the whole sport was doing it?
I don't have any issues with.
We're going down a huge rabbit hole here.
We're going down the rabbit hole. I don't have an issue with Lance Armstrong cheating because everybody was doing it. He was just doing it better.
He was a better athlete. There was even been interviews that I listened to that said the guys were like, it didn't, even if he wasn't doing, he still would have beat everybody. If level playing field,
everybody was clean, he still wins.
He still wins.
So my issue was when it started coming out and he tried to ruin that poor college kid's life. That was like, He was the sample collector, and
Yeah.
he went after that kid.
Is
He
it-
tried to get him kicked out of school. He tried to ruin
Yeah.
that kid's life, and because he was like, I'm innocent, and he went after it. He's like, I'm so innocent. I'm going to go ruin this kid's life for trying to drag my name down. When he knew he was guilty, he tried to ruin somebody else's life. That's what
Yeah.
I'm like. You're a piece of crap, dude. Like, I don't like you.
I
Forget you and your stupid Live Strong bracelets.
I like those Livestrong bracelets.
I did too when I thought he was like
I just
Superman, not when he
I
was a
see
piece of
these-
crap trying to ruin people's lives.
I mean, you look at the guys like in baseball and football, if they're being monitored by doctors, like these guys are professional athletes.
Let me kick you. Do you watch baseball? You watch baseball a little bit?
I'll watch the playoffs. I don't watch the regular seasons.
I love baseball.
Boring. Or if it's a good pitching matchup, I will watch. Otherwise, I'll keep track of the highlights. But
I love
playoff
baseball. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire's run was like one of the funnest things I've ever experienced as a baseball fan.
Epic.
And it was all because of steroids. Barry Bonds was like, okay, did he hit a home run today? How many home runs did he hit today? Like, it was all because of steroids. And it was one of the funnest sports times in my whole life.
I talked to a guy that played baseball in like the 70s and 80s. And okay, McGwire and Sosa, they're juicing. They're testosterone, HGH. Like these guys are juicing. But everybody else was still doing, it wasn't steroids, but they're taking uppers. They're taking like a Adderall or
they're
uppers,
taking
basically.
that. They're taking speed, all that
stuff like that. That was readily available. I mean,
there's stories about being a fishbowl full of drugs in the Mets clubhouse, like Darryl Strawberry time.
Yeah.
They're just like popping them like M&Ms and Skittles.
I worked with a guy in, and I won't say his name, in California with his nutrition, and he played Major League Baseball. And he was asking me questions about steroids, about juicing. And I was asking him if he had taken stuff before. And he's like, yeah, but I have no clue how much. They basically would just jab him in the shoulder and tell him take this. And he'd come back in a couple of days, take more stuff. He's like, he had no clue. He had no clue what he was taking.
Let me,
to me, it's not cheating if everybody's doing it, is my
it's all sports, right?
Yeah. I think at that level, and if somebody's monitoring it now on a local level.
Let me break something down for you. I played high school football with a kid.
Yeah.
Little league and high school football with a kid who was tiny, great athlete, tiny. Played at, I'm not going to say where or whatever, because everybody know who he is. Played at a major university, major program in the state of Utah, was on a very prominent team that everybody knows, was one of the studs of that team. I left on my mission and I came back and came back to play pickup basketball.
Yeah.
And some yoked up dude was running and jumping and dunking it at this church that we were playing pickup basketball at. Didn't recognize him. Turned around. I was like, oh, and it was my buddy that I played Little League football with since like 8th grade.
Yeah.
And he was yoked up. He was recruited as a safety. He ends up playing like linebacker. I mean, yoked up.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, dude, the NCAA. He's like, I'm like, dude, how do you get so big? A little naive at the time. And he's like, fall in love with the needle, dude. NCAA testing is a joke. They come once a year and we know like a month out when they're coming.
It's crazy.
Like,
dude. Oh, going back to Mark McGwire. I don't know everything that he was taking, but there was a over-the-counter drug that he was taking called 1AD. You could buy it at GNC. Dude, that stuff was like, for being legal, was worse than being on regular stuff. Like, I took it when I was in Japan in 2003, and I put on like 10 pounds in 6 months, and like, it was insane. Like, insane.
The best was the interview where the reporter was like at his locker, and he's like, and at the locker, the reporter pointed up to him. He's like, does that bottle say anabolic steroids? And he's like, don't worry about that. And he's just like reaches up and like pushes it to the side. Nobody cared about it. Like, dude, nobody cares.
It was, hey,
it's not like the pitchers, Roger Clemens. It's not like the pitchers and stuff weren't on it either.
They all do stuff too. I mean, you do have to draw a line. I think there needs to be a line. Obviously, you don't want the kids doing it, and there should be doctor supervisions and all this stuff. There should be rules and regulations, but I think level the playing field. Let them take it. Let him take it.
Let Brock Lesnar take it.
Let Overeem take it.
Then we get back Ubereem.
Look at, dude, his Tapology picture. He looks like a freaking bodybuilder. He's
oh my gosh.
insane.
That one where he's like, is it the one where he's on the scale flexing
And
his abs have abs?
He's pretty peeled in that
his
picture.
27 pack. I mean, dude, that's Ubereem.
But he still has to train.
Well,
like,
and that's why I got Ubereem is because and why I think he goes on this run is because of where he trains now with Team Elevated and he's fighting with those guys. Oh, guess what? I'm speaking of Team Elevated. I'm going to throw a little shade. Congratulations, Zach Pog. But hey, LFA, let's not feed like
what the fuck. Sorry, excuse my language, everybody. Sorry, everybody. If there's kids listening, I'm sorry. But seriously, if you didn't watch that, I mean, look, that Zach Pug he's tough, like
monster.
He beats Zach Cavender, like who's a monster. And they give him this guy that's 1-0 as a pro.
0-1 as an amateur, 1-0 as a pro.
And 6 pounds underweight.
Unbelievable.
Underweight. Like the guy, it's like
unbelievable.
I don't know, man.
The fact that was an LFA fight was
exactly
shameful.
We're over here toting and pumping up the LFA, saying, "Hey, these guys are bringing in, they're feeding the UFC these talent." You know, if we're doing bets and we see a guy's fought in LFA, boom, man, this guy must be legit. What? You fought that guy? Like,
so
come
bad.
on, come on.
I know nobody wants to fight Zach Pog, but is it Pog? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Pog, Puga, Paga, something like that.
Dude's a
but
monster.
Look, the guy's an athlete. He's a monster. He's strong. He's tough. I mean, dude, look how big Zach Cavender is. And he's size-wise, you would have thought Zach would have had the strength advantage. And that guy he was able to control Zach for 3 rounds pretty much.
That fight last weekend, I watched that and I'm just like, you have got to be kidding me.
It was, the women's fight was like that too. There was another one. The girl was like 1-6 as a pro.
Yeah.
It's like
weird.
Oh, Ryan Faust says LFA fired Pat touch for attending the Trump rally. Oh, that was was it LFA?
Yeah, it was.
It was LFA. That's right.
LFA fired, dude. Thanks for that.
They fired him for going to the Trump rally, but they didn't fire him for getting the DUI.
No, they didn't fire him for the DUI. They didn't fire him for going to the Trump rally. They fired him because he went there and posted that he didn't see anything violent and that it seemed pretty peaceful from where he was standing, and they didn't appreciate that sentiment.
Which, if he didn't see anything, then there was nothing wrong with what he said. But yeah, definitely, there was millions of people there. There's a lot of people didn't see anything. Yeah, I'm with you though, man. I did not like to see that at all. And he just,
we dog it all the time. Yeah, like, super classy.
I mean, you look at our local scene. You go to a steel fist fight, and granted, anything can happen. Anybody can get knocked out. Anybody can get dominated. Their matchups are pretty freaking good.
Oh, Kevin and Pat
are
great.
Some of the best.
Absolutely.
Cody, fierce fighting. Same thing.
Pretty good.
They put on amazing matchups. They have great talent, and to turn on a regional show, a big national show that's on TV, and you see that, like, it's like, wait a minute.
Well, they were talking about it. Joe Rogan was talking about it on the Joe Rogan podcast with your boy Brennan Schaub, and they were talking about like when Kimbo Slice and he fought some killer when he was like coming up or whatever. And Joe Rogan says, I never say this, but I knew for a fact Kimbo Slice was going to get knocked out that night. And rest in peace, Kimbo Slice. Freaking love you, Kevin Ferguson. Like one of the, but it's the, there's anything can happen in a fight, right? Like I mean, look at me. That
kid didn't need to be in there with Zach.
But look at me. Look at me. Like I do not look like a fighter, but it's like, you can't judge book by its cover, and anything can happen in a fight. And we have been at still fist fights where we're like, oh, this is going to be bad. And then the guy like wins.
Yes,
like,
let me ask you,
but every once in a while, there are fights. Okay, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Do you blame it on LFA or do you blame it on that guy's coaches for taking that fight? Like, I mean, you've said it before. I think one of your first or second fights, all those like, that's probably not the fight for you to take right now. Like, I mean, as a fighter, I know you don't want to, how do I put it? You don't want to turn down, these opportunities, but this guy had only had 2 fights and he's fighting a guy was a freaking professional athlete. Like, I don't know.
Well,
maybe he needed it. Maybe they want to get him. Maybe they get on the contender. Maybe they wanted him to get on the contender series and he needed the wins. Maybe that was it.
Blame both. Yeah, I
that's
agree with Ryan. But it's coaches, dude. I'm a fighter, and I can pretty much talk my head into being like, yeah, I could beat that guy. Like, dude, they offered me the first guy they offered me for that Ficon fight. You know who it is too. It's like, dude, I had no business being in a fight with that guy. But man, I'm sitting there and I watch a couple of his film. I'm like, I could beat that guy. Like, I'm an underdog. I could beat that guy. And all those like, dude, we're not fighting that guy.
Here's a good example. And this isn't throwing shade at you because I know you're a badass. Let's just say you call up Kevin and say, hey, I want to fight a pro fight. My next fight, I'm going pro. All right. You're going to get, you can pick from Thomas Harper or Cole Schaefer because they both only have 1 pro fight, right? So on the board, when you're looking at it, you're like, but it's like, do you really want to fight one of those guys for your first pro fight? I don't know. I'm probably ranting about shit I don't know about, but I just did not like to see that. Like the kid did not belong in there with him. He did not belong in there.
No, but you can't blame. I don't think you could really blame the fighter because he's always going to bet on himself.
He's going to one.
That's what fighters do, right?
But Ryan just said
coaches / manager.
Right there.
Tell you the truth. Yep.
Ryan's coach. Your coach and manager needs to tell you the truth. It's like when I'm getting ready to compete, and if I don't look good, my coach tells me, you're not ready to do this show. You're going to have to wait till the next show. I would rather have him tell me that than be like, oh yeah, you're going to kill it, when he knows I'm not going to kill it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be,
anything can happen in a fight, but there are times where you're like, oh, this is not going to end well. And you could tell that Zach Puig. And when I saw that guy before the fight even started, I was like,
you could just see it at the weigh-ins.
You're like, oh no.
And this isn't throwing any shade at the Zach Puig, like at all. Like the guy's a freaking stud.
The guy's a killer. He's in the same boat as Zach Kavanaugh or Zach Cavender. And that's why they fought, is because they can't find anybody to fight.
Yeah, exactly.
They're starving for fights.
Yeah.
Ryan Faust knows a little bit about that, and his kid Cole's in the same boat.
Yep.
People are starving for fights. They'll fight anybody. And you don't want to fight a can, but dude, you got to fight. Mitch Ramirez, got to fight.
What does that do for that guy's confidence when he goes in there and he just gets freaking mauled? Like, I mean, as a fighter, how are you feeling after something like that? Like,
well, I don't know. I've never been mauled.
I guess it depends on the fighter.
So it depends. Did that kid think he was going to the UFC? Did that kid think that this is going to be a career of him? Yeah. Or did that kid need a couple $1,000 and was willing to show up and take a beating that he knew he had?
Probably what it was. I wouldn't have took that beating for a couple $1,000. You better give me a lot more than that, because that kid took some damage.
I mean,
took some shots.
I mean, LFA, that kid probably made grand, $1,500. I don't know. But it's I don't know. And you know what? Maybe he goes, so as fighters, Lucas Montoya taught me this, and very valuable lesson. And maybe I do this. I wonder with my own loss if I just do this. As fighters, we have to come up with reasons, almost excuses of why we lost.
Yeah.
So we can build up in our heads why we can overcome it and can have confidence going into our next fight, right? For me, my defense mechanism, I don't think I lost. But other people might say otherwise. And if I'm in the outside looking in, I'll be like, well, at the end of the day, you got in a bad position, and like you let yourself get in a position where that could happen, right? Yeah. That's a little bit more realistic. But to my core, in my heart of hearts, I don't really feel like I've lost. That kid, he does that and he goes, okay, I'm obviously not a 205er. Probably not even a 185er. If he got a chance, probably closer to a welterweight frame. And he's like, I was fighting out of my weight class. Maybe this makes him rethink, if I want to do this, I need to fight in the correct weight class. I need to do this where I can't just get overpowered. And then he has enough self-confidence. He goes, as long as I'm not getting overpowered by a freaking ex-NFL football player and professional rugby player, then I'll be fine. And then he can move on to the next fight. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Ryan just said, Ryan Faust said, and is he going to get another shot at a big show since he didn't perform well? And if you do take big fights and flip, you might not get another shot. That's true too. So, I mean, I think if you're stepping up to that level, you kind of want to make sure it. I know you need to take big fights and you need to take tough fights, but there should be a progression, in my opinion.
But that's the other aspect of it too, dude. You're not ready for big show. Go. There's some great promotions out there in Colorado, which I believe. I don't know where that guy's from, actually.
I don't know where that guy was from. I know that Zack kid trains out at Elevate.
But wherever you're fighting, go get in some local shows, get some experience under your belt, rack up a couple wins. I'm sure they'll have you back. You took a fight against somebody that nobody else wanted to fight. At the end of the day, you get mad respect for that. And this is not even similar in the slightest, but nobody wanted to fight Bryce Scallion. And when Kendrick Wolf stepped in there, fought him, showed balls, guess what?
But
Kendrick didn't win that fight, but he gained 1,000+ fans. And he 100%. Gave everybody's respect.
But the difference is that's an amateur fight versus this being a pro fight.
Correct.
That guy's only had – you want me to make this situation even worse because I just looked up this kid's Tapology?
I told you, he was 0-1 as an amateur.
0-1 as an amateur. His amateur fight was in 2016. He turned pro February of last year. He wins. Didn't the guy quit on the stool? It says TKO round 2, but I think the guy quit on the stool.
Yep, that's what it was. That's what they register that as on Tapology.
And then you throw him. Your coaches are going to throw him in with a Zach Poga guy. What? Like, bruh, as my daughter says, she gets money. Bruh. Shaylee gets mad at me because I don't know how to say that. She can't watch because she got in trouble yesterday. Got her phone taken away. Anyways, I'm not trying to harp on this kid. I'm more harping on LFA for putting that.
You're better than that, LFA. You're better than that.
Do better. Anyways,
do better.
We have we'll do our breakdown when Friday after weigh-ins. You want to do a breakdown?
Yes.
Got a couple other guests we're working on. We are working on
a big one.
You guys are going to be very excited. Very big name in the MMA world.
MMA legend.
Yes, we will put legend on the end of that. We're trying to set that up, and then we're getting a couple other people that we didn't interview before the first Fierce card was supposed to happen. Now they got rescheduled. We got a couple guys on there that still want to come on that we didn't interview the first time. And if anybody still wants to come on and talk more.
And Kevin said guaranteed that March 13th Stillfist card's coming on too. So if he's got that all cleared up and Stillfist is back too, we're going to have some of those Stillfist guys on, I'm sure.
I love it.
Well, our short little rant podcast just turned into an hour. So congratulations, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful Monday. We got big plans coming in the pipeline for Damage Plan.
Yes, we do.
Big plans.
See you guys later this week. We out.